I was sideswiped by an 18-wheeler. Pretty serious damage to my car, but I was able to get the driver's information. The problem is when I called the insurance company, they told me that they only cover damage to his truck, not my car, and that I needed to contact his other insurance company. But now he won't return my phone calls, so I can't get that information. Any ideas?
Well, Rocky, I mean, I think at this point, I mean, he may end up having to contact a lawyer because they're going to need to write some letters or maybe even sue, because if you're not able to get somebody to call you back, you'll have to get their attention somehow. And generally speaking, what you and I would probably do is write a letter to the truck driver, the person at fault, unless whether or not we could find out the insurance information. Rocky, do you understand the question that he asked when he mentions that there's another insurance company involved that may not cover damage? Because generally speaking, you have insurance coverage on a vehicle that covers not only property damage, but also covers personal injury damage as well. That's my son's lab that I'm babysitting for the next couple of days.
I get a hold of your Pomeranian. He sounds pretty big.
Chester's not at home right now.
Okay. All right. So normally trucking companies are required to have minimum limits, over the road trucking companies, minimum limits of at least 500,000, sometimes more than that. So there should be adequate coverage. What they're really talking about here is they're talking about just having some sort of collision type coverage, which is very rare for an over the road 18-wheeler trucking company. The other thing is he says that the truck driver, or they won't return his phone calls. With an 18-wheeler tractor trailer case, many of these truck drivers that are in wrecks in Mississippi are from all over the nation. And it's very important that you quickly move on these cases. Like Tim's saying, you have to write what's called a notice letter. Tell them to preserve the vehicle, preserve the tractor, the trailer, and other evidence before they put it back in service, because they may go fix it or repair it if nobody tells them not to. And then your expert, your accident reconstructionist, doesn't have a fair opportunity to look at all the evidence before it's fixed. That can be a huge deal in a case, say, on defective braking or other mechanical failure that caused or contributed to the wreck. So I think you have to not only get a lawyer quickly, you need to get a lawyer that knows the federal motor carrier safety regulations. And we talked about that. There's a book about this thick of the rules and regulations from the federal government that truck drivers have to follow. And this is a very specialized area of law. I'd say it's as specialized as bankruptcy or tax. And Tim and I have both done a lot of these cases. And you don't want to have somebody that's never done a trucking case, because honestly, it can be very intimidating. It can be very hard to try to get up to speed on those regulations. And the defense bar is very specialized. You only see about 4 or 5 lawyers defending trucking companies in this area, and they might defend 3 or 4 companies each, but they know what they're doing. And if you don't, it's not going to be good for your injured client.
That's a small number. That was interesting. Very small. I would have never thought that.
It's smaller than you would think. Now, there's some lawyers that might have one trucking company or one insurance company, but the good trucking defense lawyers have the majority of the good companies, 3 or 4 each.
Okay. Did you want to share anything, Tim?
Well, I mean, Rocky's absolutely right. I mean, we stress on this show all the time that, you know, 18-wheeler wrecks are just different than a normal run-of-the-mill because of the regulations that you have, the hoops you have to jump through, and the fact that you need to get to that vehicle to get the black box and look at those logs as soon as possible before there can be any manipulation with not only the vehicle, but whether or not any of the trucking logs or our logs may or may not be changed. So that's, I mean, timing is very important in 18-wheeler wrecks.